Hello everyone, welcome to another watercolor tutorial. We are really getting into the Christmas theme here. We're going to be painting another Christmas card, or you can just use this as an ornament painting practice, but I've sketched out two different types of ornaments here. For this teardrop shaped one, I just used the lid of a painting container, and I just traced a circle and then added this point to the bottom of that circle. And this one I traced a circle and then just added little stripes, but we'll go over that when I'm painting, because right now I just sketched it out for myself. You don't have to, but it does make it a little bit easier. So this is inspired by Art Card Gav. I saw that this person tagged themselves in Poland, so hello friend. Fellow Polish individual. Sorry guys, I just realized, well, I spilt water right before I started painting this, and I didn't clean it up very well because it kind of went everywhere. But anyway, let's just get right into this. They're both going to be green themed, so I'm gonna just, I think I'll start with the green, and you can use whatever green that you have on hand. I'm going to kind of experiment with my greens, and it's going to be like a stripe type of painting. So I'm actually going to start with gold, but if you don't have gold, you can use brown. That would probably be the closest, or more so using copper. I would say it's a copper color. So I'm going to start with a stripe down the middle here, because that's going to be the easiest. It's just a simple stripe that widens slightly in the center and then kind of tapers back down. And then the two that are on the opposite side, just follow the rough angle of the sides. So again, I'm going to start up here, and it's going to widen and then kind of go back. And then the next one, widen and come back. And then the last one is not really, it's just kind of bordering the edge of the ornament. So then we have to replicate that on the other side. So once again, widen and then taper off, widen, taper off, and then the last one there. We can always adjust that because I'll be painting over it with green. So now I'm going to switch gears to my green. I'm actually going to take a little bit of green, like metallic green that I have, mix it in to the green that I was going to use. Or we can always apply it afterwards too. And skip this if you don't have metallic green. This is not like an essential step. It's just I'm trying to be extra. So actually, now that I think of it, no, we're gonna do it this way. Okay, so I'm gonna fill in every section with the green. And don't worry about being hyper precise. Like you see, I have a white gap here and a couple white gaps there. That is totally fine, because later we're going to be going over it anyway with If you don't have metallic, you can use white. So just don't worry about it. We're just roughly filling these sections in between the copper. And I think intentionally leaving white actually makes it look even nicer. That is my opinion. You can do whatever works for you. I mixed a little bit of black in the first time and I forgot to continue doing that with my green. Today is a very rainy day, which typically I would be happy about because I don't feel guilty being inside painting. But when I can't go outside, then it leaves even less options to entertain my daughter. So I don't really know where I was going with that, but that is my little bit of news. I don't know what it is. Okay. She is down for a nap currently. I have really been on a roll with these nap time tutorials because typically, I think I've said this before many times, but I paint on Saturdays usually when my husband is home from work, so he can be with the baby. Because I'm kind of on a time crunch to pre-film a bunch of tutorials, I decided to start trying to do it during her nap times, and it's been working out really well. I'm just going back in here with a little bit, like I mixed black into my green and I'm just adding that in. I quite like that. The other thing that I would like to do, I'm going to switch to a liner brush here. I'm going to pick up that metallic green, but you can use like a regular green or even just white. White might work too. And I'm adding it, if it will even show up, I'm adding it just on top of some of the green sections here, just to add a bit of sparkle. Oh, I don't like that one. I picked up like a turquoise metallic color, but I don't like that at all. I'm going to go over this, go over the copper ones again. I have to use the copper color anyway because I have to do the little part, that little crown at the top. So you can make your, I don't know what this is actually called. So my very intelligent viewers, please let me know if you know. But this crown thing at the top, you can make it any which way that you want. I'm gonna try and be fancy here and have like this 3 pointed thing going on. I'll have to go over it with black probably to define it a little bit more. Little circle. And while I have that on my paintbrush, I'm gonna go ahead and redo some of those copper sections on my Ornament. I saw it popped up on Instagram, this video of a person taking her regular paintings and adding metallic to them, but she films it at an angle that you can really see the shimmer of the metallic, and it was so satisfying to watch because she was just, it was already an existing painting that she had just painted, but she was lining like the green with a metallic green and the yellow with a gold, and it was just so beautiful. And I wonder how she achieved that, how she was able to paint that in a way that it, on the camera, it showed the shimmering. It was very beautiful. So I'm gonna go over this a little bit later with maybe white acrylic paint probably, because I want to have little like highlighted sections to make it look like it's shimmering a little bit, but we can definitely do that afterwards. For now, I'm just going to take gold and add the little loop. Just erasing it first. I think I'm gonna have to just take my original copper color because the gold that was not very thin. I'm not very happy with that actually. I'll let that dry and attempt again. Okay, so while this is kind of curing up for us, we'll move on to this one here. I'm tempted to erase this just so that it's light enough for me to see, but not so dark that it shows through the watercolor. That's good enough, I would say. And now what are we gonna do now? I'm gonna start with the bulb itself rather than the bows on top. So I want this one to have a little bit more of a bluish green color to it. Taking this bluish gray and adding it to the green that I have. And it's a bit hard to see now. I think I a little over erased. So I'm just beginning by painting, whoops, the stripes on my ornament. That one actually didn't turn out too bad. The center one that I painted, it's going to be much, like it's, rather than being concave, it's going to expand in the center, sort of like we did with these guys. So like that. And like that. Just gonna flip this around. Okay. Now the next stripe, it's gonna be basically the opposite of this. So I don't know the difference between concave, convex. Like in theory, I know one faces outward and the other one goes inward, but like depending on what angle you look at it, they both face inward. In some, at some angle, they both face inward and they both face outward. I might have to go in and fix that a little bit with white acrylic paint at the end. And then our last little stripe here is just the bottom of the ornament. Now I'm trying to figure out, I'm gonna water down this green, maybe even pick up gray instead, and just line, I should have done this first. That was my tape. Line this thing so that it's an actual circle. Because that would have helped me paint this a little more accurately. Like this should go out a bit more. This should be a little more rounded at the bottom. It's a little bit better. Anyway, we can adjust that later. So, okay, what are we gonna do now? There's too many options about what to do next. I'm going to do the paint the silvery part next, the little cap. So I have silver because I have metallic, but you can by all means use gray. It'll have the same effect. go in later and adjust this a little bit to add shading, but in the meantime, I'm just gonna lift off some of the pigment. So there's like a little bit of shine to one side. I should have done that with this one too, but I wonder if I still can. Yes, I can. With this one, I'm going in with black anyway to adjust something, so this one I'm not so, I don't really like how that looks now. I'll fix it later. Okay, so why don't we focus on the bow now? So I just have to keep making my modified green by taking gray and green, and well, the gray is kind of like this green, bluish gray. So anyhow, for the bow, we need to make it look like it is overlapping, or sorry, that it's a loop. So what I'm gonna do is paint the one part, the left side of this top one, significantly darker, and so it'll look like it's a loop. So I have to let that dry, and in fact it should be darker. It should be even darker, so I'm going to pick up some black and drop the black in there. And then this section here is going to do the same thing. So I'll just pre-paint it, or not pre-paint it, I will paint it. And I'm going to do the same thing, drop some black in there so it's darker. And finally, this one doesn't have a loop, but we can still paint it now a regular color. And I have to be mindful of this little square that I have here, because that's the part where all of these join. It's like the bow crossing part. Same with this. This is gonna come out here, so I have to be mindful of that. A lot of moving parts here. Not really moving parts, but a lot of things to take into consideration. So I'm gonna drop some black on the end of this and on the part that is close to where all the other ones join, because I want to create some shadows. So while that is drying, I can move on to this one, I suppose. So I do find it easier to just fill it in with the green and then go in later with the black to add the shadows, because then you don't have to think too much about getting things perfect. See, the one negative about painting during my baby's nap time is, you know, I'm constantly in this anxious state that I'm gonna get to a point in my painting that I can't, like, it's wet on wet, so I have to finish it and my baby will wake up. And it's fine if she wakes up, because sometimes for like the first 5 minutes she kind of entertains herself, but then she starts crying. So anyway, I'm adding the black at the end, the middle, and the part that attaches to the bow here. And just gonna try and blend that in seamlessly so it's not this random black spot on the ribbon. Like so. And then we just have, oh my gosh, where did all this like splatter come from? It's not as visible on the camera, but I thought it was like dust or something, but I don't know when that would have happened. Okay. So this one is very much like the one we just did. When I start paintings like this one that I know are gonna be very precise and a little bit more time consuming, I really don't enjoy starting them. But once I get closer to the end and I'm focusing on all the detail work, it's actually quite therapeutic. It's very nice to just take my time on a painting that you're supposed to take time on. That you're supposed to just slow down and enjoy the process. So once again, I'm gonna drop the black in there. I'm gonna do so on this end. And in this bend again. I was thinking, like, when I finish pre-painting all these tutorials for the year, like, what am I gonna do during nap time? The world is my oyster. But you know what, I'm like, oh, I'll probably just keep painting. I'll just, if I'm so ahead, I might as well be even more ahead. So my old goal was just to pre-paint the entirety of 2024 before the summer. And that's definitely gonna be met because I just have, I think, 7 tutorials left. But I think my new goal is just gonna be like do January and February as well. So now this should be dry. I'm going back in and just painting the ribbon beside it. And this one, actually, I'll add a little bit of black as well, just at the base here. And then I have to do this one as well. When I don't have a lot of things to do, on my to-do list or my chore list, whatever list I'm looking at, I kind of feel lost and I start to procrastinate. The very few things that I have to do, I start to procrastinate because there's a term for that. I think it's like a psychological term where tasks take you the amount of time that you have. So if you only have like 10 minutes to do something, like generally, obviously, if you're changing a car tire, you can't do it in 1 minute. But that's what I found happens with me. That I kind of adjust how long it takes me to complete a task based on how much time I have to do it, which is not good. It's not good to get into that habit. Like, maximize, be productive so that you can have time to relax and not have things on your mind. Okay, so I really like how this ribbon turned out. Way better than I was expecting, honestly. I still have to do the center part, but I just want to make sure everything else dries before. So what I'm gonna do is actually go over the stripes, because the stripes dried to be quite unicolored, and I do want them to have a little more life in them. So what I'm gonna do is just like paint certain sections of them, and then I'll blend it together. So this part will be darker. And then I'm gonna, like I said, take a paintbrush and just blend it out. I should switch to a more appropriately sized paintbrush for this task. Ah, that's too big. Well, I'll just have to rinse. Okay, and then the bottom. I can feel myself starting to rush a little bit, and that is when I start making mistakes. So that's a little bit better in terms of the shading on that. I can always go in and take like white watercolor and just add a little boom in there and a little pacha. Just like a shimmer in the center that's going down like that. But I think this up top should be dry, so I'm just gonna go ahead and finish that off too. Okay. Now the other thing I want to do is take gray, very, very watered down, and run it. I'm going to wait until this dries, and then I'm going to run it along the side here and just a little bit up top there, but I don't want to do it now because I just repainted these and I don't want to mess it up. So, okay, in the meantime, while all that is drying, this should be dry, so we can go ahead and add some of our details. So first of all, I think I've decided that I'm just going to use black or brown or whatever to do this up top here. Is this on the camera? Yes, it is. It's better. And then I'm going to outline this as well. Like so. Add these little details in there with the black. I'm kind of tempted to go in with the black in down here to add even more shading and contrast. So I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna attempt it. Yeah, that looks quite nice, I think. We really got to wrap things up here. This is taking way too long. I'm gonna add the little hoop up top there. I'm gonna take black and add just a little bit of detail on this thing. Okay, and this should be dry. I'm hoping that it is. So I'm gonna take, like I said, very watered down gray and paint this shadow running along the side, although this has turned green, not gray. Like that. And then just a little bit on this side. Yeah, I like that. I know we're jumping between the two, but I'm trying to multitask. While one is drying, deal with the other one. Okay, so one last thing. I think it's the last thing. But I just want to add, I want to use white acrylic paint and add a little bit of highlighting to this guy over here. And you might be thinking at this point, like, don't overdo it. It doesn't have to be on every curve. Oh, that one did not work out how I wanted it to. So what I'm going to do is just paint over it a tiny bit of black. It doesn't have to be too much, but I'm tempted now. I'm gonna stop before I overdo it, guys. I think I've already overdone it with this one. Let's stop there. I think this is looking pretty good. Let's not go too much farther into this. Let me know what you guys thought of this one. I really enjoyed painting it. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.